Hey, my narcissistic abuse family. If you're watching this video, that means today is our son's birthday, May 20th. That's Joey right there. Joey was born on May 20th, 2009. I'm making this video because I love talking about all things related to Joey, but it's also a disgusting example of the way your narcissistic family will let you down in ways you've never conceived of. It can be applied to any hardship in your life, any adversity, any difficult situation. So I'm sharing mine today. Little background. My husband and I, we got married October 4th of 2008. We were excited to start our family. So lo and behold, we were in Hawaii on our honeymoon. I was feeling a little off. My sense of smell was off the charts. I had like super spidey sense of smell. So we went to we started in Honolulu, we went to Maui, and then we finished in Kauai. When we were in Maui, which was our favorite place to be in Hawaii, all of Hawaii is amazing, but we were in Maui at the time, and we went out to eat, we drank, and then I was like, I don't know, let's just take a test. So we went to like a CVS kind of deal over, like a pharmacy. It was called Long's Pharmacy, I remember that. And we brought the test back to our hotel room and took it, and we learned that we were pregnant. And Joe and I were over the moon, excited, thrilled. No words. We were just so happy. So we came home, and I don't want to get graphic, but I was bleeding a little bit. And anybody that's gone through this knows that means you have a hematoma. And hematomas are like not a big deal, but if you're first time being pregnant, you lose it, man. Like any little hiccup is like earth shattering. So I had a hematoma, and I was bleeding a little bit, and this was the first time we changed gynecologist because I was not happy with my current situation. So it was the first time I met my current doctor, and I absolutely love this man. I love him more than anyone should ever love their gynecologist, but he is such a good man. Anyway, so it was the first time we met him. We were in the emergency room. He came like middle of the night. They did an ultrasound, and they said, you have a hematoma. And there's basically nothing that you can do. The doctor told us just, pray on it. So we did. And thank God, May 20th, Joey arrived. He was due in June, but he came a little early. He was like raring to go. So Joey was born May 20th, 2009. Joe and I went from being a married couple to officially being a family. So Joey made us a family. Beautiful, amazing little boy. We are so blessed to be his mom and dad. I'm so blessed to be his mom. And Joey, just so much fun right from the beginning. And a happy little kid, just great attitude. And so anyway, then, mind you, I was diagnosed with MS in like May of 2001. So plenty of time prior to the pregnancy. I was like managing. I was doing okay. But anyway, so then 2 years later, Joe and I were like, let's have more. We love this little guy so much. let's add another member to our family. So we got pregnant, and little Madeline, we changed her name so many times, right up until the day I went into labor with her. We got, like, no kidding, like one of those mailers from Shutterfly, and it said Madeline on it. And I was like, I like this name so much. Joe was like, can we do that? Can we change names last minute? Like, we told everybody we were going to name her Mary. That's my middle name and my great grandma's name. And so Joe, I was like, we can do whatever we want. She's not born yet. So apparently Maddie liked that because I went into labor that night. So July 13th, 2011, Maddie was born. So we had Joey and we had Maddie, and we were over the moon. It was such a high for us. So we were, at very different places in our lives then. And we were like, oh, we're good. We have a little boy, we have a little girl, we have like the perfect family here. We're going to stop. So then Joey started getting sick the next month, like August of 2011. And he just kept throwing up. And the pediatrician, they were very nice, the pediatrician we went to, but she just kept saying, oh, it's motion sickness. It's motion sickness. I was like, we're home. We're not driving anywhere. We're home. And he's getting sick. And, nobody ever wants to go there. And it's a rare thing, thankfully. But, like, no pediatrician wants to even entertain the thought of a brain tumor. So they gave Joey every diagnosis under the sun until it finally came down to the MRI. Joe and I brought Joey to the emergency room 3 times with his, just relentless vomiting. The first time they told us that he was full of poop. He just needed an enema. So we subjected that poor kid to enema. We were so relieved, of course, to get this news. And we were like, oh, that's like nothing. Great. And we went on our way. Second trip to the ER, Joe took him to a different hospital closer to our home. And it was actually a terrible snowstorm. They got stuck on the main road because a tree fell. It was a nightmare. And all they did was say that Joey had acid reflux because, he had like the irritation in his throat from vomiting. So they gave us like Nexium, something liquid like to give him. Now, we never gave this little guy like medications before, so that in and of itself was a nightmare trying to get him to take that. Little did we know what was in store. So that was second trip to the ER. Third trip to the ER, Joe and I went to a different hospital further from our home, and they said, we haven't checked. There's one thing we haven't checked yet. And Joe and I were like, okay. And the doctor said, we haven't checked his head. Now, this was at like 2 a.m. Like, Joe and I just lost our minds. Just even putting that thought out there, putting that on the table just destroyed us. And we got super emotional, devastated instantly, just even trying to entertain that. Even trying to wrap our heads around that. So then they wanted to send Joey for a CAT scan, and he was like so rambunctious even at that hour, and he wouldn't lay still, which kids don't usually do. Like, in order to do stuff like that, they usually have to put children under anesthesia, but because we were in the ER and it was just such a pressing thing, they were going to forego the whole anesthesia, just get Joey a CAT scan really quickly and be done with it. But he wouldn't stay still, so again, we were like, all right, we're good. We'll just head out on our way. And we did, with no real help, no real answers from that. So finally, Joey's pediatrician said, all right, I guess you should take him for an MRI. This is in November, by the way. And the local hospitals were a nightmare with trying to get a pediatric MRI. The wait was like months. And because of the anesthesia. I go for MRIs, or I went a lot for the MS. And I had went to this one hospital in Livingston, and I was like, well, maybe we could go there. And we got an appointment. It was the day before Thanksgiving. Day before Thanksgiving in 2011. So Joe took Joey, and I was home with Madeline, who was an infant. She was born in July, so she was what, August, September, October. She was like 3-4 months old at the time. And we were just like getting ourselves together. And the doctor called me and said, oh, I'm going to need you to come in so I could talk to you. And Joe was not even home with Joey yet. We just, you just have an intuition and instinct. So we went for the doctor's visit. We had my narc mother meet us in the parking lot because the poor kid had been to so many doctors and we just didn't want to traumatize him anymore. So she sat in the car with Joey and with our newborn Madeline. And Joe and I went in. The doctor instantly started crying. There was no one there, no one in the waiting room. They obviously wanted us to be alone because, it was just horrible. They wanted to send us via ambulance to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, like instantly. Thankfully, we had the sense to say, hey, we got to go home and grab some stuff. We have a newborn here. So that's basically the start of everything. And my narc mother and, inverted narc father, they actually took Madeline for us, which was a huge help. But, nothing that narcissists do is without obligation, and they constantly need recognition and praise. So I think at that time, they were probably getting it elsewhere because Joe and I were obviously consumed with caring for Joey and doing whatever we needed to do to help our son. So, she was probably crying the blues to like her cronies, whatever, church people, whoever would listen, family members, people that don't know what a toxic piece of garbage they are. So, they did a CAT scan at Children's Hospital when we were there, and they found the tumor. Well, they found the tumor in the initial MRI that was closer to our home. But when we brought Joey to the Children's Hospital, they put us in the pediatric intensive care. They did another CAT scan. They confirmed the presence of the mass in Joey's right temporal lobe. The neurosurgeon popped in one day when we were in the PICU and said, the tumor's here. It's there. It's everywhere. It's like a spider web. I'll do the best I can to get it out, but, we'll do surgery day after Thanksgiving. I don't know, you guys. I'm trying to remember as best I can, but it was traumatic, and I think my recollection might be a little foggy, but that's essentially what happened. So we went the entire day on Thanksgiving and nothing. So first, it was like 6 a.m. on the day after Thanksgiving, the neurosurgeon, that's when he told me he was going to do the surgery and everything. So all of a sudden, we had like this beautiful, healthy little boy, our beautiful newborn daughter, and then all of a sudden, he's going to get brain surgery. it was incomprehensible. So everybody was at the Golden Boys' house for Thanksgiving that year. We were supposed to go as well, but obviously we did not make it. So everybody actually came to the children's hospital, brought us food and stuff. Obviously, we were like nowhere in that mind space where we could even think about eating or Thanksgiving or anything like that. But you think like that's what family does, right? They rally around you. Stay tuned. So that was that. So Joey had the brain surgery the next day. God bless him. He did amazing. He got up and wanted to eat pancakes the next day. Joe and I had no idea what a daunting road was ahead of us with all the medications they put Joey on. Keppra for anti-seizure. They put him on steroids because of just the whole shock to the system with the surgery. It was just one hit after another, and Joey was never the same. We went to go get in the car to leave CHOP after we received the diagnosis, and Joey, I'll never forget this. Joey got in the car and he said, "Baby Maddie's car seat's not here." He was so sharp, and that was the last lucid thing he said because he was so medicated from that point on. So that's the day after Thanksgiving. Well, excuse me, no, we were there for a couple days, but that was November 2011. So people were absolutely amazing. Like the good, loving, authentic people in our life could not do enough to support us and help us through this just devastating situation. My friends, my coworkers, place I used to work, everybody, like I said, rallied around us, and they were setting up fundraisers and things of that nature. Well, wouldn't you know, my miserable monster of a sister-in-law, married to the golden boy, was supposed to be on the committee to, set this stuff up, the fundraisers and whatnot. She didn't last very long. She was off quickly, and they didn't even show up to they had one of the major events they had was a comedy show, and nobody showed, the Narcs showed up, the toxic duo came, but nobody else from the extended family. My own brother didn't even show up, and that's because he is the golden boy. I am the black sheep, and he has been triangulated against me since birth. He hates me. He, is convinced that I'm terrible, and I don't know, you guys. I don't know how anyone has that kind of mentality to villainize a person when they're going through what we were going through. My husband and I say the same thing. I don't care if I love you or hate you or whatever. What can I do? God forbid anybody, finds himself in that situation. We would just do whatever we could do. But the golden boy has become very narcissistic in his later years here. And he very much just looks at money like it's everything, superficiality and all that stuff. So while people were trying to support it, we had to travel back and forth to New York for Joey's treatments. We had to do it every week. A lot of times we ended up staying in the hospital with him because we never left his side. When we did that, the toxic duo took Madeline. Like I said, thank God they did that. But, they had to do that, because if they didn't do that, they would look like the pieces of crap that they are. So they had to do that. While we were going through all of this, I had I kept a blog to keep people updated, because I don't do social media, and the blog became really therapeutic for me. And I always tried to like thank people that were helping us and doing things to make life easier. I would always try to do like shout outs and stuff like that on the blog. So one time, like, I have a cousin that I love that was here for us. She was coming over to help me with Joey and the baby, when Joe was still working when I was home. And she didn't ask for anything. We paid her because we're overly like appreciative like that. But I like thanked her on the blog one time. Do you know that the narc mother was like yelling at me? Like, Joe and I were in the hospital with Joey getting a treatment or something. I think we had brought Madeline with us that day, the infant, because we were just so disgusted with the narc mother and enabling father that we just didn't want to deal with them, didn't want to ask them for help, so we brought Madeline with us. And do you know that narc woman had the audacity to yell at me because I mentioned my cousin in a blog thanking her, but I wasn't appreciative of everything the narc was doing for us. Incomprehensible. There's so many there's so many examples during this horrible period that we went through that I just think back and I am beside myself. Like, decent human beings would never ever conduct themselves in this way. And these are my parents. Like, it's not just, it's like the whole unit. It's them, it's the golden boy, and now his wife. Like, they have all treated me like crap my entire life. And now that I have this amazing family that I love and treasure, like, they just kept doing it, like, regardless of the circumstances. Like, they claim to be grandparents and everything and how much they love our children. Like, how much do you actually love these children when you're keeping tabs on everything you do for us? Like, during this, wouldn't you just do anything? So they weren't coming to fundraisers and stuff, the golden boy and his wife. They barely had anything to do with us during, you know what, they have a son that was Joey's age, and they said they wanted to protect their son. They didn't want him to know what was going on. Mind you, we didn't want to go through this either. We were suffering in unspeakable ways, but we had to, but they didn't want anything to do with us because of that. But mind you, now in hindsight, she is like the first one to exploit our son's passing on social media. And so does the enabler, the inverted narc. He does the same thing. And I find it absolutely disgusting. Like, you had nothing to do with us. You didn't want to help us, but you want to cry the blues about the loss of our son. You had nothing to do with this mammoth battle that we had to go through. But she'll be the first one to try to elicit sympathy for herself, the monster sister-in-law. And I remember I don't speak with my golden boy anymore and his wife because, like I said, he hates me. He thinks I'm the worst. And I remember I was talking to the narc one time, and I said, please, because I have other family members on on Facebook and stuff that would tell me that, she posts all these pictures of Joey, around the date of his passing in April and around his birthday. So she just goes to town, like, trying to elicit sympathy for herself and attention when she had nothing to do with us. I remember bringing this up to my narc mother, and I said, please tell your daughter-in-law that I find this highly offensive. As Joey's mother, I would greatly appreciate it if she would respect our wishes and stop doing this. Do you know, never said a thing to her, Narc mother, never stood up for me ever. And she never said anything to her because she does the same thing. She loves to exploit Joey's passing. It's getting long, so I'm going to cut it off, but I'll tell you, Joe and I had a memorial mass for Joey after he passed in like May, first week of May, because Maddie was a baby, and we couldn't go through the whole ceremony of like a funeral. We had Joey cremated, we had a mass at church, and of course it's the church that the narcs go to, and they're so affluent and model Catholics. So they several of our friends have said, I've mentioned this in other videos, but I was on like Xanax and stuff. I didn't even know how I was going to function through the mass. But the narc was doing just fine. So that morning, Joe and I had to get ourselves together, and Maddie the baby, and at that point Josie was born. We had Josie when we were going through everything with Joey. We named her Josie after Joey. She was actually due on Joey's birthday, May 20th, but she was born on April 19th. So we were in the hospital after the birth of Josie on April 19th, and we had to go home on a hospice with Joey. Joey passed April 23rd of 2013. That's 4 days apart. I can't make this up if I tried. Josie was in the NICU because she was so early, and Joe and I went home with Joey on hospice. Indescribable. It was horrible. So the hospital staff was so amazing. I was in the room in the maternity ward after I gave birth to Josie, and my husband, Joe, had to take Joey down to the emergency room of that same hospital. First hospital we ever went to with Joey. And Joe had to bring him back to the emergency room. And they contacted Joey's oncologist, and the oncologist said there's nothing more we could do. It had like spread to his belly or something. It was horrible. Joey stopped speaking, he stopped eating, he stopped going to the bathroom, everything. Anyway, so we're home on hospice with Joey. Joe and I did that. The narcs took Madeline, thankfully, at least they did that. And Josie was in the NICU until after Joey passed. So we had a mass because it was just so much. We had a mass. So several of our friends saw the narc in the back of the church, like laughing and just holding court, talking to everybody that was there. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, your grandson just passed and you're smiling and laughing? Like, what the flip is wrong with you? Like, that's what I'm dealing with, man. Like, that's the caliber of these people. So if you have narcs in your life and you have a tragedy or an unfortunate experience, you can count on them to let you down every way possible. I just wanted to make this video because I'm so proud to be Joey's mom. He is such an inspiration to me. Every day he inspires me to be a better person. His sisters love him and appreciate him, and we will be going to McDonald's to celebrate Joey's birthday. Real quick, another thing that I wanted to get in here. So last year Joey would have been 10. It would have been his 10th birthday. Joe and I don't like to dwell on dates, so we always try to do something fun because we have these beautiful daughters and we don't want them to be sad. We want to make it a celebration, make it fun. So we always do like a cake or something. So last year, I have always said that Joey's birthday is more painful than the day of his passing because his birthday should be a day that we're celebrating Joey's birth and, you know, making us a family and all of that. But instead, we're mourning the fact that he's not here. But anyway, so I've always said that. Put that in the back of your mind. Last year, the enabler texted me, oh, mommy bought a cake. Should we come over later? You know, or we will come over. I was like, are you flipping kidding me? And this is when I was navigating through everything, starting to realize, you know, what their game is and all of that. So I was like, we're good. You know, I think we went to McDonald's. I said, thanks a lot. We're good. No response. He did not respond to that. Do you know Narc mother never reached out to me that entire day, because all they care about is riding the coattails of our grief, piggybacking off of our grief, and they were pissed that we weren't including them last year. It's so selfish and disgusting. So they did that last year. What was I gonna say? There's so much to this story, but I just wanted to speak about our son, and he is such an inspiration in our lives, and we love him and cherish him. We're blessed to be his mom and dad, and he's our angel in heaven, and we speak about him and love and appreciate him. And I will always keep his memory alive however I can. But I'll tell you that everything we went through with Joey, he had brain cancer. He was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is horrible. It's horrible. But everything we went through was just exemplified the fact that these people are toxic as hell. They're selfish. They're disgusting. And no matter what they will never come through for you. These people will always disappoint you. They will always let you down. They will always fail you. They will never be family in the way, they will never love us the way we need them to love us. They're horrible. So, all right, you guys, we're bumped and we're bruised, but more than anything, we are blessed because we have this deep appreciation and compassion because of the circumstances we have endured. I love you guys. Please like, please subscribe. I'll see you soon.